and welcome to the Bellingham Real Estate Podcast. I'm Paul Balzotti. I'm here with Lennox Scott, the CEO of Lennox Scott Real Estate. What a pleasure to have you.
Well, Paul, it's just fabulous to be here this morning with you and your team.
Yes, thank you. And I'm going to start out by just kind of sharing some of the fabulous things about Lennox Scott Real Estate and about you. So I have this on a sticky note here. So Lennox Scott Inc. is a top 20 power broker, one of the top 20 brands in the nation. And Lennox Scott Real Estate has over 100 offices and over 3,000 associates. I have down here that a year ago we did over 20 billion in sales volume. Also, you've been regularly listed in the Swanee. Did they say Swanee Pool? Is that Swanepoel top 25 most influential, people in the industry regularly listed that. And then you're also you lead the Lennox Scott Foundation, which raises millions of dollars every year for children's hospitals and other children's events. And so that's all very amazing. And, all of that led to the pinnacle of your career, which is it all came down to this. Now you get to be on the Bellingham Real Estate Podcast. So what an honor, right?
Well, I'm glad I finally was able to make
this.
So.
Exactly. No. So anyway, but no, seriously, it's an honor to have you. And so let's get into it a little bit. So share with everybody the history of Lennox Scott Real Estate, how it was founded, how it's evolved.
Well, first of all, Paul, you stated a lot of nice stats and recognition for us as a company and individually. But of course, this is a team recognition. It's a team compliment that all of us together have come together and to provide that service to our clients that produce those achievements that we've been able to do year in and year out. And it's what a treat to be here in Bellingham. So for the Lennox Scott Real Estate, we were founded in 1931 by my granddad, John L. Scott. I'm the third generational leader, and my daughter, Savannah Scott, will be the fourth generational leader of our company.
Yes,
and
love that.
We're heading towards our 100th anniversary in year 2031. And in the 1990s, we decided that we wanted to grow the company, become a Northwest real estate company in the three states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and far northern California. And that's when we created the Lennox Scott Real Estate Network. And of those 100-plus offices, they're both company-owned and affiliate offices. And one of those is right here in Bellingham. And thank you for taking on the ownership. And it's so... Paul, it's like I come to work each day for you.
Yes.
Yeah, and your team. So that's what I do on a daily basis.
And so you became and you kind of took CEO in 1980 is
yes.
what I read, right? So, and that's an interesting thing that you brought up, that I just assumed that the company was just kind of this thing that had gone like this for the last 90 plus years, but really it's grown primarily actually under your wing. I mean, it was maybe 10 or 15 offices before 1980. Is that?
Yeah, we had about 260 broker associates in 1980, and now we're up above 3,000.
Yeah.
And so we have grown as the transportation networks have grown.
Right.
Because in 1931, when the trolley lines came in, we grew into other neighborhoods right around Seattle.
Yeah.
Then the freeway system. And then just transportation just kept opening up more markets and attracting others, movement within the Northwest.
Yeah, and I love that the way you grew. A lot of real estate companies, they kind of just, when they franchise, they'll just go anywhere that somebody will take them. And then there's not a lot of connection between those franchisees all over the country. And then the brand recognition is not necessarily there and everything like that. Whereas we're such a rich legacy brand that is here and that's so well connected. Everybody knows somebody who's worked at Lennox Scott or works at Lennox Scott that lives in Washington. I'm sure the same thing in Oregon, Idaho.
Yep.
Now going into Northern California a little bit, and then of course being part of Leading RE and being a founding member as you were, it still gives us all of that national and international networking and marketing opportunities, but still having that kind of hyper local kind of more family feel, which is super cool.
Right. And we wanted to be a major player in the Northwest. We're kind of an island up here. It's a long ways to San Francisco or Minneapolis. And as you were mentioning, the leading real estate companies of the world, that network gives us that exposure of like-type companies, 500 across the United States and around the world. And our network together, we transact over 1 million transactions each year just in our network.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful group to belong to, networking, brainstorming, and sharing ideas with.
Yeah, and when you look at the leading RE companies, they're all kind of John L. Scott's. They're a lot of regional, really good companies.
Yes.
It's not just, they don't take just anybody. Like, there's a criteria, and so it's really great. So
Thank you.
So that's all fabulous. I wanted to get into kind of the industry in general. So, I grew up, as you know, with my parents in real estate. My stepdad, my dad and my stepdad. All of them.
Yes.
Back then, obviously, it was a different business. It really was. I mean, obviously, some things never change, but the people part of it, a lot of that doesn't change. But truly, you can go to the changes in buyer's agency has changed a lot. We're now doing buyer consultations, and of course, as a company, you're providing, buyer consultation, buyer seller. You've had buyer presentation guides and housing update tools that the company's been providing, which is incredibly helpful so that you don't have to create all that material yourself. But buyer presentations, our listing launch, and then that's kind of where it started. Was that 10 years ago, 15 years ago when we did that?
Yeah,
Okay.
12 years.
12
yes.
years ago. Okay. Then we're moving into, home staging, professional photos on every home, Matterport video on every home. You move to, so elevating that listing experience, because the consumer is kind of, the market's demanding that, right? And that's what to offer our services at the highest level. That's what we need to do now. Then you get into Market Ready Plus, which is offering a credit line so that it help people get their house ready for sale. So that's kind of where we are now, right? We're right there at the highest level. What's next? Where are we going from here, and how is things going to evolve over the next 5 or 10 years? And how are you as a CEO kind of looking to stay out in front of all that?
Well, it's another exciting time with AI coming. I'll talk about that in a second.
AI, yeah.
But we have a phrase we use: while everything continues to change with technology, the core of our business remains the same. And that's the trusted relationship of a competent professional. That has not changed in our industry at all. All that technology has done is just speeded up everything, made it instant. When we were able to have our own TV show in the 1980s showing all the homes for sale. This is before HGTV.
Right.
And then when the internet came around, we were the first in the nation to have all our inventory online. And we were recognized nationally for that. And then the MLS, we had all the MLS information on. Mobile apps, we were one of the first to have a mobile app for Androids. And
I know, I'm an Android user. I know. I've been with
and
I remember.
And now with rolling out our new Salesforce platform that you're beta testing for us, a rollout office here, with the mobile app on that you're going to get your database and update it and communicate on a continual basis while you're out in the field. So we've always adopted new technology. So let's talk about AI for a second. So AI, I first noticed AI 55 years ago. It was in 1968. There was this movie out called 2001 Space Odyssey.
Oh, I've heard of that movie. That's a famous movie, right?
Yeah, it's famous. You got to watch it.
I heard it's good.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
But it showcased AI, and the AI was called HAL, and I can't remember the acronym that stood for. But and then the next year in 1969, we landed on the moon. The book Future Shock came out in 1970, and then we're just off to the races from there. So we've always anticipated technology, and now it's here. AI is now here, but all along the way, we've adopted the new technology, we evolved it, and it's just elevated our service that we provide to our buyers, sellers, and those in our database that we can continually communicate with. And that's what's going to happen in AI. When the internet came out, it was real-time real estate, and now it's instant everything is going to be the AI world. So as a leadership team, we have an executive meeting just on AI each month.
Okay.
We're talking to all of our vendors. It's all moving forward. We had a guest speaker in from Microsoft, and she was telling us in May that AI is going to be 6 times greater by the end of this year, just because the exponential growth of it. And I've read articles where programmers can now they can code 8 times more code because of AI. So you can just see it's really coming forward. And I'm anticipating, of course, within 5 years or so, that each of us will have our own personal AI assistant. And the only thing you have to figure out is what are you going to name your assistant? And that's just so everything's going to be instant voice activated, and we're just going to but we're providing that consultation services, transactional excellence. That doesn't change our network with the other brokers in the industry to get that transaction and to get it closed. And like for buyers, this has really helped clarify what our value proposition is with buyers. Is I partner with you as your personal representative to help you buy right at the right price. For sellers, I partner with you as your personal representative to showcase your home in the best light to get the best price. And there's consultation involved, getting to know you, your preferences and everything. And sometimes some counseling gets involved.
Totally.
But able to help people move forward in the next phase of their lives. And that's what we do on a day in, day out basis.
Yeah, and that's there's a couple of things that you touched on that are so cool and important. Number one, I want to mention that when I started with John L. Scott in 2003, we had johnlscott.com had just the technology part of it.
Yep.
We had a map search, like a really intuitive, good map search, and we were pretty much the only real estate company up here that had, I don't know if Realtor.com or some other site had it, but as a company, it was like the only company that had it. We had an app before anybody else. It's one of those things about John L. Scott that's sneaky, that is not widely kind of industry known, is we have been really out in front with technology the whole time, and compared to a lot of companies, and you watch companies kind of jump around to different kind of things and different vendors and different things, and you've been really good at staying on top of things. And what I like about the messaging and the values is that it's not what's the new thing that's going to capture leads necessarily, or this or that. It's technology that is at the core of how we can still have those relationships and focus on those relationships and serve those relationships, as opposed to technology just to kind of lead generate, if that makes sense. There is a difference in real estate firms and teams focusing on the kind of capture leads and things like that, versus focusing on all of our tools are really focused on, the sphere of influence type of, it's kind of a difference. Does you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, definitely it's the strength of our company.
Yeah.
It's our relationship, our trusted relationship with our client base.
Right.
That we have. And that's 80% of our business is repeat and referral business from the people we know. And it's, and then you get to our core value as a company is living life as a contribution.
Right.
We approach our business of being a contribution to each individual, supporting our teammates to create a positive environment for expression and being involved in the community, and of course with children's hospitals, and then we take those items home with us, that experiential learning home with us.
Yeah, I mean I'm just going to continue to kiss up a little bit here with all the things you're doing right, but of course, I bought into the company because I obviously believe in the brand and everything you guys are doing. But another thing that I love is what did you say for buyer? What is the buyer? Give me that language again, please.
Oh, for the buyer?
Yes.
Well, I partner with you as your personal representative.
Yes.
To help you buy right at the right price.
Right.
I have eyes wide open.
Yes.
Experiential eyes wide open on your behalf.
And so I wanted to mention to you that I talked to a broker who was with John L. Scott for a long time, got recruited to be kind of a manager at a company. We didn't have a management position available, so he moved to a different company. And I was talking to him the other day, and he said, one of the things I really miss about being at John L. Scott is the language and the messaging, and there's a lot of focus on that too, on helping curate kind of how to talk about things, how to think about things, how to because that communication is a big part of our job too. Like the skill you need to have to say the right things, to think the right way when you meet with people. It's not the same. You're not meeting with somebody and just, house hunting for them and helping them. They're doing their own thing. They already are on Redfin or Zillow or JohnLScott.com doing their home search. So it's like, how do we present the highest value and understand how to talk about what we're doing with them and with ourselves.
Yes.
And there's definitely always been a focus also on language.
Yes.
And even talking about housing, which I want to get to next, housing updates, frenzy market versus this market. Those are very you find yourself starting to use language. It's definitely something that I really appreciate about the company. The core value of focusing on the relationship and living life as a contribution and having the technology be up to date to surround that core value.
Yep.
But then also the messaging and the is all really good stuff too.
Well, we have a separate from our AI executive meetings and relationship executive meetings, we meet just on strategy about where the industry is going. We meet on that on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So we're already anticipating the changes and how are we going to elevate our, as you're saying, our language, but our consciousness, our awareness, and then our service levels.
Sure.
So that's where that languaging comes from.
Yeah.
It's not, it just doesn't happen. It's conscious.
Totally.
Repeatable. And that's where the frequency of focus of being fully engaged in the industry comes from. You not only evolve with technology, but you evolve with clarity about our purpose and our value add to that individual client.
Well, and it creates a culture because, it's a family-owned company. And when you're focusing on your relationships and the value you're providing and your contribution, you also attract the right kind of people that also see the industry that way and want to be part of something like that, as opposed to somebody who just says, oh, there's a lot of money in real estate, or there's this, they're coming out of something else and they think it's something, so they want to do it. And so, when we as office leaders are also focused on the right language, focused on the right activities for the realtors we're working with, we're attracting the people who see the business the same way, who want to be part of something like that. So it helps drive the culture too, which I appreciate.
Thanks. So,
okay. Next thing is the market update, right? So market update. So you're here to give us also a market update. Obviously, everybody knows sales have slowed down this year. Year over year, rates are up. What are you here to share with us as far as for Whatcom County or the greater Pacific Northwest on a market update and kind of where you see things going?
Well, definitely there are fewer transactions in the industry right now, and mainly because of the interest rates going up so suddenly. So you have a differential between homeowners who refinanced at 3% and what the current rate is today, around 7%. And they're just not moving in the normal sequence for repositioning on a local basis as much. So, but the market is moving for those where a life event takes place, and also for those that have major equity that have been in their home 4 or 5 years or more. So those are the individuals moving in today's market. So while there are fewer transactions taking place, for those homes that are coming on the market, there's good intensity for going under contract. And so we have some good languaging to be able to talk about in a positive manner. That there is positive momentum for those that are homes that are making on the market and the people that want to move. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then we're also going to be talking about is just our engagement with our database and getting ourselves in position for a new engagement with someone. Because the market is very predictable, and we're going to be in this market for a year or two.
With slower sales.
With fewer homes coming on the market.
Which then leads to slower sales.
Which leads to slower sales.
And that's an important distinction, because obviously it's not slower sales because people don't want to buy.
Right.
It's slower sales because there's just less inventory.
There's just less inventory.
Right.
And one thing I'll be talking a little bit about is interest rates, because they're coming back down towards 7. They peaked up last week a little bit to 7.25 or so. And the forecast is from the national economists in the real estate space is that we will be back down in the 6s by year end, upper 6s. And then in 2024, we'll be back down to the mid 6s. And then we'll see where we go from there. But we're not going back to 3 or 4 or maybe even 5% interest anytime soon. So that takes a look at in this market area in the more affordable and mid-price ranges, because up to $500,000 in Whatcom County, it's still a frenzy market because of the lack of inventory coming on and the amount of buyers purchasing. And then from 500 up to a million, it's very strong sales activity intensity. And up to 1.5, it's healthy, and above 1.5, it's selective buyer activity. But in those beginning price categories, up to $1 million, we know prices are going to go up in the spring. And so it's kind of a math formula right now. I might be paying a little bit more in interest right now, and if interest rates go down, I can refinance, but we know the prices are going to go up in the spring. And if the prices, say they go up 5%, what's the median home price approximately?
It's like $650,000, let's say.
So that would be $30,000. Yeah. Well, the rate differential between 7 and 6.5 might be on a $400,000 mortgage is going to be a fraction of that. And sure. So there will never be enough homes in the more affordable and mid-price ranges. Over the next decade, they will only go up. We started the next 10-year housing cycle last year. That was the adjustment year. This year, the market solidifies this year in 2024, and then we'll see where rates are at that time, but we'll see another 7 years of appreciation growth moving forward ahead. That's the normal 10-year cycle.
So, because we did see a little bit of a dip in home prices late last year for sure. And would you say that the reason why you're saying steady appreciation over the next 7 years, would you say that that's a Pacific Northwest thing as far as primarily due to lack of construction and continued demand in the area and population growth, just a simple supply and demand kind of forecast? Or
yes,
is there something else at play? Or because that's not everywhere in the nation, correct? No. It's not.
The Central Puget Sound is an economic juggernaut across the nation and around the world. There are just more people moving in, and as the city heats up, you get people moving to the lifestyle destination
like
communities like Bellingham. Yeah. And that's what's been taking place all throughout the Northwest. You have Seattle, Portland, Vancouver, BC, and then not until you get down to California then, where the major centers are, but you get that concentric circles outside of the major centers, and that will continue ahead.
Got it. Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. I appreciate it. That's still consistent with your forecast that we provided at the beginning of the year. That doesn't sound like anything's really changed other than rates have stayed higher than expected.
Yeah.
But the forecast for the next 7 years remains the same.
Yeah. And boy, has Whatcom County ever been steady overall at a very strong sales activity intensity.
Yeah.
And that's a indicator, the trademark indicator that we have at John Scott of homes going under contract within the first 30 days.
Sure.
It's just very strong, especially in the more affordable and mid-price ranges. And then in the upper price ranges, luxury price points, you really do need to look at your competition and pricing and condition of the yard and the home, even to a higher degree.
Sure.
Because of selective buyer activity or
absolutely.
Healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all I got. Again, it was an honor to have you on. Thank you, Lennox. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening or watching, you guys.